to the Woman's Show. As many of us know, but hate to admit it, we are quite an emotional species. But have you ever wondered about the chemicals behind, for example, being happy on your wedding day, or sad when someone dies, or perhaps being sentimental when you remember a memory? Today we have scientist Dr. I Feel to help explain the chemistry of emotions. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Doctor, what are some of the basics of understanding the chemical sides of emotions?
Well, first you must know that there is literally thousands of different chemicals that participate in brain function. They fall into different groups based on their chemical structure, mechanism of action, effects, where they originally came from, or disease process that they are designed to treat. There are three types of compounds: neurotransmitters, neuropeptides, and hormones.
Oh, I know what that last one is. Can you explain what any of those are?
Yes, neurotransmitters are chemically derived from single amino acids. Neuropeptides are small links of amino acids that together form a protein with psychoactive effects. And hormones are chemicals that are made in many different regions throughout the body, and they are released into the bloodstream and also have psychoactive effects.
By psychoactive, you mean our emotions, not that we're all psycho, right?
Yes, our emotions.
Now I understand that within these subgroups there are even more subgroups.
Yes, there are hundreds of different neurotransmitters that exist in the brain, and they fall into different groups as well based on their chemical structure. The biogenic amines are the most understood group of the neurotransmitters, and they include dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. Each biogenic amine is made within a small region of the brain, but the nerve fibers in those areas of the brain spread the neurotransmitters through the brain.
What do these chemicals make us feel?
They are involved in regulation of mood. Dopamine, which you've probably heard of, is implicated in the brain's natural reward system and is seen as the pleasure chemical. Norepinephrine is linked to a hormone called epinephrine, which is also known as adrenaline, that gives you a rush that is often associated with risky situations, like skydiving, for example. And serotonin is usually thought to control activities involving sleep or tiredness, appetite, and sexual function, but recently has been linked also to mood control and anxiety.
So now I can blame my serotonin for my overeating and low sex drive.
Sure.
So how do we know how to feel? Do we know what happy is?
So every time we repeat a thought or emotion, like happiness, which is hopefully quite often, that creates connecting links called synapses between brain cells. These synapses create a complex net of information called neuronets that then dictate our reactions towards certain stimuli. So when the same stimuli reoccur, we tend to repeatedly recreate with the same emotions.
Is there any way to change the information networks?
Yes. For example, as a child, if we see our mother leave us at daycare or something, some of us would have cried, but eventually we change our feelings for different reasons. We move on and we realize it is inappropriate. So yes, we can intervene and learn to perceive, feel, and react differently. This reverses the chemical dependency and electrical wiring, freeing us to choose how we want to perceive, feel, and react, rather than the usual ways that have become our chemical and electrical programming. In this way, we can change these processes. Or, in extreme circumstances, we can use drugs to alter reoccurring emotions, like depression.
Thank God for that. However, this makes me feel like a little science experiment walking around.
In many ways, we are. We are bioelectrochemical beings. We are constantly producing chemical reactions in our bodies with our emotions. All emotions originate within our physical embodiments as a result of chemical reactions produced as a result of sensory and mental input. For example, when we see a tornado coming right at us, our bodies create a chemical reaction called fear, which initiates action designed to protect ourselves. Or when a chemical reaction, for example, sexual arousal, is created within our body, it initiates action for many people.
Ooh la la, indeed it does. So your next point here is how, in this way, humans are similar to other animals.
Yes, we are similar in the way that we release pheromones as a result of these chemical reactions of our emotions, which is how animals communicate. This is why animals can detect fear. They read your pheromones.
But sometimes we can detect how people are feeling too, if they don't say it.
Yes, humans do have the ability to read pheromones too. It's more called intuition or psychic ability, but we've been conditioned all our lives to ignore this instead use reasoning or other mental functions to translate all sensory input. but our bodies receive pheromonal input, so quite often our bodies are reacting one way while our heads are reacting a different way.
Oh, I've definitely felt that before.
Yes. This creates a stress on both the body and the head. The stress creates further chemical reactions, and we end up with all sorts of mixed emotions and mental machinations that prevent us from receiving pure intuitive information. This stress and disharmony leads to all sorts of unhealthy stuff like disease and aging.
So the saying is true. Going with your first instinct. Trust your head.
Exactly. Sometimes don't try to reason and just give in to your natural chemical reactions.
Oh, how wonderful. Thank you very much. That's all the time we have for today. See you next week.